Hey 302, it's Jackie Ferris. This week we're at Legislative Hall where we're talking to Governor John Carney about some good news legislation. No politics here. The 302 is headed your way. Hey 302, it's Jackie Ferris here. We're at Legislative Hall hanging out with Governor John Carney, talking about some good news legislation that's coming your way. Governor, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, great to be with you today.
Now, the legislation that we're going to talk about covers a wide variety of things, from education to the environment to small business. But the first thing I wanted to ask you about was the opportunity funding for schools. Now, this zeroes in on English learners and low-income students. Is that right?
Absolutely. One of the things that we know is that children from disadvantaged backgrounds and English learners are not performing at levels that they need to be. And as a result, they're going to lose opportunities to be successful in life. They're not going to be able to graduate from high school, go into higher ed, or out in the workforce. And our overall objective is to make sure that every child can read at grade level by third grade, do math proficiently by middle school, and graduate ready to go into the workforce or on to higher education. And so too many of our children aren't meeting those objectives, and too many of the children from low-income backgrounds in particular are not doing that. And so we've got a proposal before the legislature to provide additional resources to children from low-income families to help with the educational needs that they have, whether it's reading supports, math supports, after-school programs, counselors, whatever it is that an individual school, teachers, principals determine that their children need. And then it's not just an exercise in throwing more money at the problem. Our children get a significant amount of money per student for their education, but it's more about leaning into finding the best practices across our state with additional resources to address the needs of these children. So it still has to be approved by the legislature, but it's really a high priority for me this legislative session.
So we're talking about 3 years and $60 million, is that right?
That's right, $20 million a year, really focusing in on distributed across the state to each school based on the number of students they have that meet a certain income level, and English learners as well. Unlike a lot of states, most states I think, we don't have specific funding earmarked for those children. We do get Title I funding from the federal government that goes to low-income children, but state money just goes, to students based on the number in each school. So this will give additional resources for those children in those classrooms.
Now, if this is passed, how would the system work? Would a school district say to you, we have a large number of English learners or low-income students, and this is what we would do with the money, or do we identify afterwards? How is it going to work?
So already, the Department of Education is working with school districts, with principals and teachers in identifying plans for how they would use this money. And then there would be a feedback, accountability, if you will, analyzing the results of the programs that they might put in place, whether it's additional reading specialists or additional math coaches or additional professional development for teachers. Some of the teachers that decide to teach in urban areas, say in the city of Wilmington, aren't really trained for the type of situations and the children and the trauma that they bring into the classroom. So that would be extra resources to do that. After school programs, enrichment, a lot of different things. We want the local schools and teachers to have some flexibility about how they would use the money, and then assess afterwards how they're doing.
So it would be like an evaluation process to see what works, what doesn't work.
Exactly right.
If maybe one district is doing really well, maybe you can adopt that or mirror it elsewhere?
Exactly right. Let's do more of what works and less of what doesn't work. And we know that there are schools right now in districts across our state that are doing well by these children. Well, let's adopt some of those practices. Here's some additional resources to help the teachers and those schools, and let's do what's working across our state.
Now, before you came up with this bill, what was the major challenge? I mean, something was like, you finally said, we've got to do something.
So it's been known for some time, ever since the federal legislation, No Child Left Behind, went into effect. And that legislation required states and school districts to rate by the scores different subgroups of students. And it was made clear that some of the students from disadvantaged low-income families were doing a lot worse than the students at large. And so there's been a lot of talk and discussion, hand-wringing around the so-called achievement gap. I refer to it as an opportunity gap because we're depriving these children of opportunities in the latter part of their lives. So let's do a better job making sure they get the educational foundation they need. Here's some additional resources, opportunity funding to do just that.
Now, where does the parent fit into all of this?
Critical. And, and some of the resources could be used for parent engagement. Part of the problem is that children don't have intact families. Some are foster children, some are families that aren't supportive, and they're bringing the trauma that they experience in the home to the classroom, so additional resources needed there in terms of counselors. We have legislators who are looking at those ideas. So lots of different ways that this money can be used really to raise student achievement for these children.
All right, thank you so much. And we're going to be talking a little bit more with Governor Carney when we come back.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and the 302 is my jam.
Welcome back. You've heard the phrase keep America beautiful and even keep Delaware beautiful, but pretty soon you're going to be hearing keep Delaware litter free. Now we're back with the governor. Tell us a little bit about the new initiative to wipe out litter in Delaware.
Yeah, so as I think about the major objective that we have as a state and that I have as a governor, it's to make Delaware a place where where businesses can locate, create jobs for the people of our state. Well, they want to go to places that are nice to live in, right? That are beautiful, that have great parks, that have great outdoor spaces, great public spaces, good schools, all those kinds of things. Well, I've noticed over the last, I don't know, it seems like 5 to 10 years that there's been an increase in the amount of litter out in our highways and byways. You can go to any stop sign, any off-ramp or on-ramp on the Interstate 95 or down Route 1, and you just see plastic bags blown all over the place, and coffee cups and cigarette butts and all the rest of it. And I hear from visitors to our state that they see this trash and it doesn't speak very well for our community. This is the place that we live in. We all think it's beautiful. Those of us who take an oath of office always pledge to always respect the right of future generations to enjoy the rich, historic, and natural heritage of our state. Well, we're failing that, our population, by not promoting a cleaner, healthier state. And so Keep DE Litter Free is our campaign to get Delawareans to think more about not throwing their coffee container out their window when they come up to a stop sign or a red light, and think about helping to keep it beautiful.
Kind of changing the mindset. And I saw something.
It is a mindset. That's really the
It
problem. We've gotten to the point where it used to be completely unacceptable for you to roll down the window of your car and throw something out, some trash out, as if somebody else is going to pick it up. But we've lost that ethic recently, and we need to get it back.
Now, I had seen in the news release that your office had sent out about a 2018 Keep Delaware Beautiful study that was actually kind of shocking to me. Tell us about that.
Unbelievable. 6,000 pieces of litter in a mile along Delaware roadways. I mean, that's just amazing. And it's cigarette butts and fast food containers and plastic bags, and you can see it, particularly when the wind blows. The plastic bags are up in the trees, they're along the fence lines. that line our roadways. It just makes our state look crummy. And it's not very inviting. I think doesn't send a very good message to people who might want to move here, to businesses who might want to locate here, and to tourists. They come to our beautiful beaches. We do have some litter problem on some of the bay and ocean beaches, and that's part of it as well. So we're trying to get towns and civic groups and communities to join our campaign and make Delaware beautiful again.
Not only to adopt policies to, prevent and punish, I guess, people who litter, but also to keep in mind how dangerous this can be, not just to tourism or to our esteem, but to people who have to pick it up and to our environment. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely, about wildlife and lots of plastics in the environment. These plastic bags and other plastic things get out in the environment. They break down a little bit. They get into the food chain and they hurt wildlife. We've got a beautiful state. We got lots of wildlife from north to south, east to west. Beautiful beaches, beautiful Bayshore initiative that we're promoting. But right now it's getting polluted with trash and litter. In some parts of lower Delaware in particular, there's a dumping problem. People just dumping garbage along the roadways in wooded areas and along farmland. And that's a different problem, but part of our campaign to clean up our state.
But you also have people who are on the highways having to pick this up, or people who take it on themselves.
Yeah, we pay people with the Department of Transportation. We have inmates that go out of the prisons during the day to clean up the highways, and it shouldn't be that way, right? I mean, obviously, we're going to continue to do that, and we're encouraging civic groups and others to adopt highways and help clean it up. But let's get the ethic back where it's unacceptable to throw litter out your car window, and we don't have to spend money cleaning it up. But in the meantime, we want to promote a beautiful state, nice place to visit, beautiful place to live in, great place to start your business, and part of it is a place that's litter-free, I think.
Sure. I remember growing up, I don't know if you remember the commercial with the Indian that would cry.
Iconic commercial,
Maybe
right.
We need some more of that.
We do, and prior to that, I think that commercial in particular was very effective in touching people's heart about the beauty of our country in that case. And I think it changed a lot of people's practice about whether they were going to throw their gum out the window or their cigarette butt or whatever it is. And somehow along the way we've lost that, and we need to get it back. I don't know if we need to bring back the Native American, but we need to do something.
I know one of the biggest challenges are the grocery bags. I know that you're interested in banning single use, but how do you get people to remember? I mean, we all have those bags, the ones that, are durable, that you don't throw away in our car, but how do you get the mindset from taking them out of the car and using them as opposed to the plastic?
Anything can happen. We, I think, made a significant change getting people to use seatbelts. When I was a kid, nobody wore a seatbelt. Now, just about everybody wears a seatbelt. Same thing for smoking. People used to smoke indoors all the time. Now there's no indoor smoking in public places. We can change it, this as well, I believe.
All right, thank you so much. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jeremy, and the 302 means the world to me.
Welcome back. We're at Legislative Hall talking to the governor about a bunch of good news legislation. Now, I want to talk to you next about EDGE grants for small businesses. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, just to give some background, the first thing that I did after being elected and sworn in as governor was an executive order establishing a group to look at doing a public-private partnership for our economic development activity, and we call that the Delaware Prosperity Partnership. In addition to that, it used to be that the Delaware Economic Development Office did all the economic development activity for large businesses, medium-sized businesses, and small businesses. We gave the responsibility to this public-private partnership, which includes a board of private business folks as well as public officials like myself and members of the General Assembly. But we also created, within the Department of State, the Division of Small Business and really shined a bright light on the needs of small businesses across our state. We know that the job growth in our state and in our country, for that matter, is going to come from smaller businesses. Larger businesses, just look at the large businesses in our state, Bank of America, DuPont, great jobs, lots of jobs, but they've been reducing the number of jobs over the last 10, 15, 20 years. So we know job growth is going to come from small businesses. We always struggle with, well, how do you help cultivate a small business environment in your state? One of the things to help people get started on ideas that they have for a business, they need money, they need funds, they need funding, they need capital. Early stage is what it's referred to as. So our EDGE grants are an opportunity, small scale opportunity, but an opportunity to provide some grants for really creative tech businesses and entrepreneurial businesses. They're a bit the same, but two separate categories that we're creating these grants for this year. And I'm very excited about it. It sends a signal to the small business community that we care about them. And I think we'll really be able to help stimulate some small business startups.
What exactly does EDGE stand for?
Well, you would ask that question. I don't know the
I have it
answer
written
to
down
it.
here. I think it's encouraging development, growth, and expansion. And this is, when we talk about small business, we're talking about the smallest of businesses.
Yeah.
Who could?
So for these EDGE grants, you have to have fewer than 10 employees. You have to have less than $500,000 worth of assets. You really do have to be starting up. And you need to have some equipment or some expenditure that will really jumpstart your business. And that's the whole concept. So they'll be competitive. And you have two categories, 5 grants up to $100,000 for tech businesses, mostly science and technology type businesses. And then 5 grants up to $50,000 each for what we call entrepreneurial businesses, which is a broad category of a small business. And again, similar kind of metrics, just getting started, fewer employees, not a lot of assets. You need some seed capital to buy that piece of equipment or something that'll really get you going. And that's kind of how it works. So creating that opportunity for economic development of those small businesses.
And talking to a lot of small businesses, they'll tell you that the thing that really helps them is, getting their brand out there, getting a good website, developing a social media strategy. So is that the kind of thing that they could use?
So it's more on the equipment side, but the website, that kind of one-time expenditure, absolutely. Whatever it is that really will key the growth of that company, getting their product out, getting the word out about their product, developing the product in terms of equipment, and so on and so forth. We visited on our tour a science and technology business that did agricultural soil sampling. Well, they use very sophisticated equipment to analyze the soil samples that they bring in. That type of thing, enabling somebody to get going.
I was really surprised to learn that such a large number of Delaware businesses either are or started as small businesses.
Oh, it's incredible. Obviously, even some of the largest businesses started as family businesses at some level, and they grow. And again, that's kind of the point that we started the conversation about, and that is that, job growth is really going to come from those businesses as they expand. We have examples up and down the state of businesses started with a handful of employees that now have, 50, 60, or 100 employees or more. We are also funding what are called incubators. So these are spaces where individuals with an idea can go rent a space, rent a table, rent a chair, rent an office. And in some cases, they started with 4 or 5 employees. Some of those businesses have graduated out of those incubators and now have 60 or 70 employees in different parts of our state. So those kinds of things, these grants, will help those businesses get going and really expand.
So if someone out there sees this and wants to get involved, would like to apply, or maybe it doesn't happen this time, I guess there's going to be possibly a second round
Absolutely.
down the road. How do they find out?
We'd like to see, we'd like to have some experience with the program, see how it works, what kind of applications we get, whether we can get the word out. It's through the Division of Small Business at the Department of State. They have a website that businesses that are interested can plug into and just see how it works. We need to continue to get the funding, obviously, from the legislature. They've been very supportive of both Prosperity Partnership and the Division of Small Business. Small businesses are an important part of their constituency in all districts across our state. So I'm very optimistic about our ability to keep it going.
All right. Well, thank you, Governor Carney, for joining us and
Great to be
sharing
with
the
you.
good
Yeah.
news legislation. And we'll hopefully see you again on the 302 sometime soon.
Awesome.
All righty. We'll be right back. For more information on these pieces of legislation or anything the governor is up to, you can visit Delaware.gov. That'll do it for this edition of the 302. I'm Jackie Ferris. We leave you now with a view of Legislative Hall.